Okay, I just recently got done watching Twisted Metal, and I have to say, I am massively impressed. From the door, I was enjoying it. Within the first 30 seconds, I was like hooked in, and they kicked it off right. Now, even with the changes that they made to a lot of the characters, I think it fit for Twisted Metal to give it a backstory, to give it a thing. So, for example, the main character being Anthony Mackie's character is John Doe. Now, if you've played multiple Twisted Metals, you know that John Doe is actually a Caucasian guy. Spoilers for anyone who hasn't played the game. I think it was Twisted Metal Black, whatever it was. I just remember John Doe. He drove roadkill, and what happened was that he was I think a CIA operative who lost his memory because he was infiltrating a white supremacist thing, and he got like hit in the head and he lost his memory. So they kind of changed up that backstory. Sweet Tooth's backstory was changed up, even though they did reference his iconic hair on fire. And the reason why his hair was on fire, if you played Twisted Metal, was because of Jebediah. Jebediah actually cursed him, which I think there was a preacher in here, and some of the stuff that he said sounded like he could have possibly been a version of Jebediah or hinting to Jebediah. But Jebediah cursed Sweet Tooth that if he would stop taking people out, then his hair would stop being on fire, and because Sweet Tooth was in constant pain, he was like, nope, I'm keeping that. So, but this version, and Sweet Tooth had like a Michael Myers thing. He was the ice cream guy. You know, he was nice, but he had this other side. He almost took out his family, but his daughter got away, so he was hunting her. She stabbed him in the eye with scissors. Whole nine. Now, this one also took it a little differently. Sweet Tooth actually was kind of endearing through all of his madness and craziness and stuff like that. But they did change it up a little bit for how he did the family. It still had it, but it was a more sympathetic kind of story. So little things like that, they changed. Granny and her daughter and stuff, some of the characters that were from like the third game that weren't super well received as much, ended up getting, I think, really good stories in this one. They had like Amber and things like that. And they had a new character, Stephanie Beatrice, who I just enjoyed the heck out of her. And pretty much, I'm noticing that. I think I'm just a fan of her because every time I watch her in something, I like fall in love with her in the sense of like her acting, who she is. She's really good. So she's quiet. She's a new character, but I'm curious if later they're going to reveal her to be someone, but it seems like she's a new character. I don't remember her character ever being called Quiet. They did Raven, and they kind of played with that. They had references like the pink hearse for them. So if you were a Twisted Metal fan, they had a lot of things, and that's just some of the changes, but yet the changes worked because at the core of the characters, each one was. Like John's backstory is he woke up in a car, but he was a kid this time, and they were using that to build up. So what I'm noticing is that, and they had some references, like there was the one truck that you see that definitely was a truck from Twisted Metal, if you take off the cab part, or the back trailer part. But anywho, it was very well put together. Everyone still felt like themselves, but it also showed that instead of just making it some tournament with Callisto and all that, they did it where the world was wild, so they could set the stage for certain stuff. And it would explain things like, for example, when he was driving through the mall and they had the ravens and stuff. So it was like a post-apocalyptic show. And this time John's a milkman. He does deliveries, but it's very dangerous because people try to take stuff from them for it. And they were able to build this world, yet it still felt like Twisted Metal. Even though the Twisted Metal, from my memories, the Twisted Metal from the games wasn't in a post-apocalyptic world. It was in a wild world. Calypso gives you whatever you want. They had Harold, and I think now I just gave you some rundown. There were still changes, but then there was things where the characters' cores were still there, and I think that was pretty interesting. Anthony Mackie playing John, he was very well to do. I also like, and I know this is going to sound weird to some people, he had his bulk still, but I noticed when he had his shirt off the first time, he had, a little bit of, like little love handles. Not body shaming at all. And when you turn around and you see him later without a shirt, he's he's still bulky, but he doesn't have the definition. He looks more like a normal kind of guy. He does have mass to him, but it looks like he wasn't working out to gain, all the muscle in the rib. But it worked. And the reason why I think that was cool, and I also think he did that on purpose, because a person who's out there trying to survive, trying to do stuff, driving most of their time, they're usually not going to be ripped and bulk like a Captain America. They're going to look a little bit more, even if him being a bigger guy. And I appreciated that he did that, because I know that's hard, because when he goes back to Cap, like I said, he still had the bulk. He just didn't have all the definingness. Like, he had a little bit of extra on him. And I know when he goes to Cap, he's gonna have to pump that up and do this thing and kind of tighten it up, and then the suit's gonna help and stuff. And I know that's not always easy, but I appreciate that. I appreciate when an actor takes those little extra nuggets, because that's not always easy to do, especially if you're normally playing this action muscle bound thing and you got to go one way or other. Kind of like Sylvester Stallone with Copland, where he had to develop a little bit of a belly, because a cop, for what he was playing, wouldn't be as ripped as he was. So, like I said, not body shaming, actually appreciation for the dedication to the role. I thought he had a lot of charisma. He was very interesting. Like, I love the thing he goes, "Oh, they got a Foot Locker." Like, he has these moments. He just puts a lot of personality into it, and quiet grows. And every character that you see in here, Stu and all of them, even though they're the two guys... Where one, I remember he had the Bootsy Collins things, but they made them into something. And Officer Stone, or Agent Stone, which one of the games, he was one of my favorite characters to play. They turned him into like a villain, and he did this whole big thing with him and how he wants to bring the law. And they gave him some more backstory. And I thought it was really cool. Like, they made it their own, kind of like the MCU, where they take a lot of what was there outside of Captain America, because Captain America: The First Avenger is one of the most comic accurate things I've ever seen. But they took stuff like where they made, like Iron Man. They took certain things, but then, like, for example, Iron Man doesn't have an arc reactor, and that wasn't a thing. Iron Man definitely got kidnapped, but he didn't just reveal to the world he was Iron Man until, basically these other movies, and then the comics did it. Like, things like that. But it added to the film in the early days of the MCU. That's what this kind of reminded me of. I really liked how it took place in 2002. That's when, I think 2001 was Twisted Metal Black. And I think it was really cool how they put all this together and came out with this wonderful, very enjoyable video game adaptation. It was fun. It was intuitive. It made me care about the characters. I was rooting for people. I wanted to see what people were. It was really cool. You got to see some of the craziness and the different things from different points of view. And in all honesty, my rating on this one is, it blew my mind. Like, I had to fight myself, because I usually watch it when I use it as a lunch thing. So on my lunch, I'll watch something. And I was taking it, trying to do 1 episode or 2 episodes a day. Usually about an hour lunch, so depending on the episode, I would get through most of the 2 or whatever. And at the tail end of the thing, there is a extra credit scene, so for anyone that does it. But tell me what you think. Did you watch Twisted Metal? Did you like Twisted Metal? Did you hate Twisted Metal? I personally thought all the changes worked. I felt like it still had the spirit of Twisted Metal, but realized that they couldn't just throw out a tournament. They needed to, like, set some groundwork and kind of make it their own in their adaptation, but yet didn't stray so far from the core of what it was to make it not feel like Twisted Metal. They found like a really good happy medium spot, and I think that they did a great job. So like I said, for this one, honestly, it blew my mind. Top tiers, top stuff. My friend, I got him on it. He was starting to pass me. He was trying to watch it on lunch. It's it's a very enjoyable show. Another video game adaptation that knocked it out the park. I'm thinking right now maybe it's the time of the video games and the superheroes are growing down because they're too busy trying to send you the message or trying to do something instead of entertaining. Where video games, they've had such a long bad history, just like superhero movies used to, that I think right now they're finding their way. Eventually, they're probably going to go the same way too and start trying to do the message instead and forget about entertaining people. But until then, let's enjoy the ride. Geek Protagonists, you stay safe, you stay healthy, you stay real, and I'll see ya.